Welcome Keyona Meeks, founder of Rerav Labs and general partner at Black Tech Capital, who will moderate today's panel discussion.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for sticking around as we close it out. I'm going to go ahead and invite my lovely panelists to be on stage so they can introduce themselves. And as they're settling in, I'm going to get you guys hype a little bit. Who's going to the after party? Okay, not a lot. Who's excited to be done with this? Yeah! Exactly. I feel that. This is day 3 of the conference for me, too. Well, we'll kick it off with Paula, and we'll make our way down the road with Raj, and then Ananya. Yeah, I've been practicing for minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paula Guevara. I am the founder of Valency. We are an edtech startup that uses real-time transcription and translation to help English language learners, or ELL students. And I also work as an engineer at a local Birmingham startup called SmartWiz.
Hey everyone, this is Raj Vedula. I am the Vice President of WebSco Information Services. Data and AI are my specialties. And what we deal with is trying to create data products from the academic and the medical data that we have and trying to process that so where we can create a better data market. So that's what I do.
Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here. I actually drove down from Atlanta this morning to be part of it, and I really like this town. What I do, I'm a senior solutions architect at Amazon Web Services. You guys might have heard of that, the name, of course. And what I do, I basically support a Southeast region. Like I have around 60 customers that I support for the products and services that we offer to our customers.
Can each of you also give the crowd, and thank you, that was a great primer. Could you give us an example of your typical customer so we can have a better idea?
Sure. Actually, I'm in AWS for like 4.5 years now. For the first 4 years almost, I was actually supporting one of the top 20 customers, like a strategic customer. But now last 6 months, I changed my role, and now I support greenfield customers. So when I say greenfield, it's like the customers that are just getting started with either their cloud journey or they are in some other cloud and they try to move to our cloud, something like that. It's like pretty much new customers for us. So that's what I'm currently working.
Awesome. Raj, Paula.
I mean, our customers are every university in the world, and every academic person, every researcher, anyone who's wanting to learn more and invest their time in research activities. Until now, we were focused more on the primary library markets. So we have a monopoly over that. We do have some competition, but what we're trying to do is now get into the K-12 program or try to bring in learning into more smaller areas like local libraries or other areas to where improve our knowledge. So we're trying to make knowledge accessible for lots of people around the world.
Yeah, and our customers are mainly business owners and businesses. So for SmartWiz, our customers are tax professionals who have small to mid-sized businesses. And then for Valency, our customers are either vocational schools, some course certificate schools, as well as just general K-12 and community colleges. So it's kind of broad, but essentially it's the business-to-business model.
Thank you for the clarification. And now it's your turn to clarify some things. How many people in the room are devs? Just raise a hand. Okay, so that looked like about 40% of the room. How many people here are working at a startup? 2 guys? 3 people. And I'm assuming everyone else is with a small business, raise your hand, or a large corporation. Ooh, a lot of corporates in here. Didn't anticipate that. Okay, let me see. And another rapid fire. How many of you have had AI directly impact your job responsibilities in the last 6 months? So this is relevant. And how many of you believe your current role will exist, at least in the same form, in the next 2 years? Okay. Some really confident people about how essential they are for the organization. And I believe you. Okay. So thank you for giving us that bit of data about who is in the room, and thank you guys for giving us a deeper insight as to what problems you're solving and who you're solving them for. The way I want to kick us off is getting into a bit of, I want to address some fears in the room. So, Ananya, question. So Amazon has now laid off about 27K people since 2022. How much of that is directly because of the implementation of AI? And when you're architecting or facilitating AI solutions for your customers, is a reduction of workforce something that they're explicitly after as they're like onboarding when you're working with them?
It's a great question, but unfortunately, I'm not part of that process. Just you asked the question for, so I cannot really comment on that part, like your first question. But I mean, what I can comment on what I have seen myself, like within the organization, that how we are reshaping our internal processes. I can talk about that, and how we are kind of advancing, our tech side, like how we are embracing the AI tools within our organization, and how people are kind of getting motivated and kind of changing the perspective, the way they work, and kind of blending into their existing day-to-day work with the help of the AI tool. So I can definitely speak about that part.
Go ahead.
So yeah, of course. So we have I don't know whether you guys are aware of it. We have a pretty weird culture in Amazon. Like we have 16 leadership principles that we follow. Like that's part of our DNA. And part of those things, like we are pretty much like one of the largest agile organization. Even if we have like this many people, we still like we are a day one company. Like we kind of try to make 2 pizza team out of this whole big workforce that we have, and the whole idea of this 2 pizza team is like to have like a independence of that work. So whatever they are doing, so they own the work and kind of they deliver. So it's like kind of a from within a big organization, small startups. So for each small startup has their own work and they innovate faster, and then we go to customers faster. And the second thing that we have from our leadership principle standpoint is customer obsession. So we take feedback. So a lot of feedback we take from customers, and that directly goes back to us as a part of our product enhancements. And actually, in effect, like pretty much like 40 to 50% of AWS services and features that you see are direct feedback from our customers. So we get those feedbacks and we kind of try to blend into that. So that's part of our customer obsession. So again, so we all are, as myself, like for the last 4.5 years, I have seen a lot of changes internally. We all are embracing new tools, like whatever I did last year, the tools that I used this year, probably not, and I'm pretty sure in next 2 years it's not going to be the same. So because we have this culture of innovation, we have tons of tools internally, like a lot of conflicting tools also. Like we kind of today use this tool and tomorrow we find, oh, there is a better tool out there, so let's use it. And it's one of our own Amazonians who build those tools, and it's a healthy, kind of internal stuff that we have, and we always try to make it better always. So everyone embraces it. Like it's not like, if my tool is not being used tomorrow, that I will not be having a job. It's not like that. We always, fail fast and move on, and always have that opportunity for any individuals to fail and move on. And, we always have new opportunities coming up. So that's pretty much how we handle internally.
And how big are you managing a team?
No, I don't manage team. I manage customers. So
Okay.
I have like 60 customers in the Southeast regions, pretty much mostly Atlanta-based, Georgia, and a little bit of Alabama, some Tennessee and Florida. So those are all my customer base, mostly in Georgia area.
So what I want to focus on in this next little set of questions is mentorship. And just because you have the mic.
Okay.
And then we'll work our way down. I'm trying to be efficient with our mic passing off. How are you being mentored in terms of upskilling and how AI is affecting your role?
So within Amazon, again, everything that we are looking like from career perspective, we have tools and mechanisms are out there. So we have mentoring mechanism where we are able to go and find mentors within our organizations, and there are like, people who volunteer for them. So we just have to find the right set of people internally and kind of hook up with us, whatever the interest that we have. We also have like technical field of communities internally where like, for example, like, AWS has almost 300 plus services right now, but you may not be specializing for all of those, right? It's not possible for a person to be specializing for all of those. But for example, you want to specialize for database, or you want to specialize for network. So there is a technical field of communities within our organization who is only like interested for network. So you go there, you join the team, you get a bunch of mentors, and then you get trained on, and we have mechanisms for that, and then you can get all those network specific customer requests, and then you can handle that and be more efficient on that, and it's like a loop, and then you kind of skill yourself, and at the same time you can also give it back to other people to mentor for, right?
Raj, how are you within your role? I'm assuming you both have mentors and are mentoring others. How is that bi-directional conversation about how you should be upskilling as it relates to AI going down?
I mean, I think this question is the exact question everyone has in our company today, right? I mean, we are going through a reorg ourselves right now as we speak, and so we're trying to change this culture of trying to build the same thing for years, and then now we've seen our profits have been good, we've kind of done it, but you have to evolve. You have to continuously adapt yourself to what the market needs. And so the traditional forms of sending out knowledge are changing, especially talking about my particular domain. So, I mean, my personal take on AI is it's not something that's going to totally replace everything, or it's going to scare someone. But what we've learned with it is there are some things that it's really good at. There are some things that it's really good at that we were not. And so we're trying to use it for those areas. There are some things that we do not know about our own products, about our own data, actually. So we're going to employ AI to kind of support us learn those things. So the goal was, well, the programmers are programmers. The management is management. So from my perspective, my boss would tell me, we have terabytes of data, petabytes of data within our systems, where reps go. What can we learn from our data? What is it that our data can teach us today? It's impossible for someone to write a SQL query or some sort of a management system to kind of analyze it exactly. It's not possible. Knowledge graphs is a thing. Like, how would you not use knowledge graphs today? This is the modern world. What are some things that come out of it? So that's one aspect that I'm being coached on. But when I go to my teams, you first have to be ready for change. I mean, you have to be uncomfortable in being comfortable. You just have to learn to do that. The point here is your tools are going to evolve. The way you're going to build software is going to change. You've been writing Java, Python, Ruby, React, whatever all your days, but I can tell you, by using Copilot or by using Amazon's products, we've cut down 20% of development time by using tools that can help us with it. So we're asking them to embrace it where it makes sense. We're asking them to be cautious about it and not apply it exactly how it gives it. Because at the end, humans are still boss. AI can only teach us certain things, but it's not going to totally drive the market. So it's a combination of both. We learn from it, and then we adapt to what our needs are, really.
So would you say a significant portion of how you and your team are using AI is using like the publicly accessible LLMs like Claude and Chat, or are you using in-house things?
So first of all, when someone says AI, everyone goes to Claude. Everyone goes to like Anthropic or maybe Bedrock. I'm going to start with data. You don't have to go to the AI models on day one. LLMs are readily available. You can try and play with it. Perplexity will give you like 10 models to play with over a minute. But we are using models that match our needs. We're building some of them and we're enhancing them. However, that's like the tip. That's like the gold zone that we're trying to get it. What we believe in is a medallion architecture: bronze, silver, and gold. AWS taught us that, right? So we are in the bronze zone, trying to get in the silver zone. Now, which model we're going to use and which model is going to teach us better things about our data, we don't know that yet, because the quality people will have to help us there. But for the most part, trying to analyze your data, moving it in the right places is where we come in, and that itself is a big job already.
So that's internally made tools
That's
based
right.
off of your own data?
Yes, that's our own data, but we use, of course, we use SageMaker Unified Studio. We have several tools that we use, Glue. I mean, I joke about this. Oracle and SQL and several other relational database engines have built this for years and have made billions. What we do now is we break that apart into small chunks, stick it into iceberg tables to try to learn more about it. Isn't that kind of funny? It is, because trying to change it and rebuild it ourselves, I find it like, are we really doing it the right way? But that's what it's needing. So AI is evolving on a day-to-day basis. This market is evolving, so there may be better tools that folks will produce and then we may consume it. But for now, this is about the way to do it.
And just want to make sure we wrap up with a little bit of clarity on that question. So the people that you are over and mentoring, they're using AI to solve data challenges that your organization is facing. Is that a correct characterization? And if so, can you give us a specific example of how they're solving problems better using your internal AI models?
So the internal AI models question comes in when we're trying to understand what our true data is going to be used for. So I'll give you a small example. You just have to mentally visualize this. There's consumers on one end, there's producers on one end, and in the middle, what's called as a data marketplace. So until about now, we were trying to be on the consumer side. We didn't quite see how the producers were using it. The producers didn't quite know where the data was coming from. So the centerpiece is where I manage. That's where our teams are. It's the data marketplace. So we're trying to understand who's asking for the data, what are they expecting out of the data. So if it requires us to use a knowledge graph, absolutely. If it requires us to use a bedrock model, we will. But it's been fairly successful. We just have to rate it. We have to score it to see what's a better state right now. But for the most part, we're trying to engineer the data across these streams to see how well it can move there. Bringing currency to it is a big job, and that's where we currently are in our efforts.
So Paula, you manage a small team, correct?
Yes.
In the team that you manage, how are you guiding them to use AI to solve problems for your organization? What kind of AI? What kind of problems?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think that within managing people, the same kind of core fundamentals of learning how to be a good, effective manager is still really important. So within that, I kind of see it as like AI can give you superpowers, but you also have to teach people how to properly use it, as well as like quell fears. So part of an organization that I do is customer support. And I guess a big like question is like, oh, okay, like, you know, this support agent that I help build, it can resolve a customer question with 92% accuracy within 15 seconds. But as a manager, like I have to understand that you can't give that same expectation to a human support agent and expect them to also do a 15%, 92% accuracy rate. It's just not possible. So instead of like trying to do those comparisons, it's giving them other tools and how to like upskill them. A good way that we do it is basically like bringing them along the process. So instead of just giving them this tool that's ready to made, we kind of just like do a lot of like sessions where they learn. We also, but from the very start, set expectations about artificial intelligence. So for instance, like there's a lot of conversations where if you're afraid to incorporate it in your workplace, it's really important to have very candid conversations, especially when it deals with like user privacy. And because we deal with a lot of sensitive data, we don't want certain things to go into like AI because there may be data breaches, it's not really reliable. So what we try to do is basically have like reserved questions, and we have a co-pilot for our support agents so that they can use the co-pilot. But again, it's not a replacement of their work. It's just to basically help them. So instead of spending a few minutes typing out a response, we either have like macros, or they can use the co-pilot and it drafts up a response for them. And we also encourage it. So instead of, you know, having a mentality where if you use this pilot, you're cheating, we basically encourage them to use it, because as startups, we care a lot about efficiency and growing, but we also care a lot about, you know, how do you upscale someone and how do you kind of like put them in a situation or position that they're really happy in and feel that they're not being replaced, but just being like supercharged.
I'm absolutely loving the upskilling sessions that you that your organization is hosting. I think it makes a lot of sense to allow each person to be flexible and adaptable in how they are taking in that information and intelligently applying it to their work with discernment, with grace, and effectively. So that kind of brings me to my next question, which is about how you're handling junior talent. So AI in general kind of makes junior talent maybe a little less necessary than they used to be. And we're seeing some of the highest rates of and underemployment for youth in America that we've seen in a long time. So I would love to hear how each of your organizations are developing junior talent, if at all, or if AI is making an impact in how the organization is strategically hiring.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely think that junior talent shouldn't be overshadowed. I still consider myself junior talent. I'm only 23, and I recently graduated with an MBA.
She's got like 3 degrees from Columbia. Only 23. She's stacked.
Anyways, but it really is about how you like grow and what tools you use. And I think like that is something that I always encourage. So in my organization, like the startup that I have, we're all junior talent, but we don't like act as junior talent. So it's kind of like, instead of doing a lot of the functions that junior talent would do, typically like 70% in production and coding and basically doing a lot of grunt work, I give my team tools to be able to use like Copilots and Cursor, Windsurf. So instead of taking a lot of time, they have tools that back them up. But essentially like they're learning, but they're doing more than just like junior dev work because AI allows them to do that. And I guess it's always about just like giving them the tools and the resources so they don't feel that they're getting replaced once again. And then in the organization that I currently work for, we have a mixture of like junior, middle, and senior talent. And I do think it's very important to have like senior talent. Like I'm not going to go against it, because when things eventually get rocky with like AI, or if it's not super like reliable at times, everyone's just heard of like AI hallucinations, right? In another session, like you type into AI something that's right, and AI will tell you, yes, you're right. But if you're someone who's starting out in your career, you may not know that that thing is right, and it may lead you to go down a bad path, and it actually takes a lot longer to debug than if you kind of like knew proper like code structures. So I think that's why it's so important to have like senior developers on a team, but it really does change the balance and puts the responsibility on senior developers to be more of mentors to younger, like young developers. And I do see that there's a trend where we're trying to hire like less like junior entry developers, and mainly it's because a lot of that responsibility is given to like, I would say like middle developers, where they kind of use AI as a junior dev, but then they also have the experience to be able to like debug it or prompt it in a way that it's going to give you like a pretty solid like end result. But I do think that the innovation, at least in the startup space, that like the youth bring is still very important, and it's super paramount. And it's something that like, again, startups are disruptors. The youth is historically a space that is very disrupting in a good way. So we still need to acknowledge that and keep that in our space.
Thank you. I mean, I think, what she said is right. We're at EBSCO, we're several $1 billion in birth, but AI is new to all of us. It's certainly new to all of us, and no one's an expert by any means, maybe outside of OpenAI and a few folks in that realm who have probably done it for 5-10 years at this point behind scenes. So we're all learning this together, and it took us, some of us who've been programming since the .NET days or the VB.NET days have taken so much to kind of come here to this point to say, well, I never would have had a job had it been for AI days, because that's what I learned. But that didn't stop any of us, right? I mean, we evolved, we looked at what it needed. I needed to write data structures, I wrote data structures. I needed to do UI, I did UI. Whatever the ask is, that's what you got to do. So even within our company, we have now adopted to this startup mindset, just like how she was describing it. We're a multi-million-dollar company, but we still are trying to manage it in a startup mode, especially on the AI side, because the bar is the same for everyone. The playing field is the same. So, well, if we find something new that could create new data products, AI teams aren't necessarily going to build the UI on it. AI teams aren't necessarily going to build the APIs or the integrations that someone may consume from us. That is still the traditional developers. So that's the distinction I wanted to make today from my personal experience, such that AI is truly an enabler if organizations use it the right way, implement it in the way that they could potentially figure out, okay, there is an additional revenue scheme coming from here. So if you do that, then employment will continue to grow. But as far as upskilling folks, I might have missed this earlier. AWS reInvent is a great place to go. I mean, last year was mind-blowing because they revealed the SageMaker Unified Studio, and ever since then, everyone's life's changed. Right now there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of craze going on the AI world, but the number of articles that are out there are still limited. Not everything is exactly valuable for you. It's just someone's using a tool that's already there. So take your time. There's a lot of learning tracks. I mean, go through the certification paths, either the AWS or other areas, and then build your profile, give yourself an opportunity. Think about it like a startup person, and then, write code, move data, figure out a model on it, and see what it gives you, because then you'll get the full enchilada. You'll understand the whole works, and then perhaps if someone else is looking for a similar experience, you can be easily hired. AI by itself isn't going to necessarily take away jobs. I mean, if it is done right, it might add more value to what we already currently have. That's at least what I think.
And with, while we're on you, within EBSCO and the team that you manage and the teams that you're a part of, how are you seeing how the organization is implementing AI change like workforce numbers, or how well positioned you feel your team is within the company?
So that's a good question. What we did was we didn't hire from the outside, because this AI market I'm talking about hasn't created any new streams of revenue for anyone yet, not to my knowledge. At least from the larger scale companies. So there isn't additional revenue sitting around for people to kind of start, okay, let's do a brand new AI product. It's not going to happen that way. So we're going to have to carve out what we currently have, set up a certain area and say, you folks can now start working in this AI space. So that's what we did. We chose people from all across the company with various disciplines. You'd be surprised with the kind of people we have. We have people from product experience, marketing experience, sales experience, people who are in the field, people who are developers, people who are leaders like myself, with different domain experience, and brought them in together and say, can you go make this work? Right? We don't know if it's a 100% solid attempt, but we're going to make it. We're going to push for it, and then we understand. So there's good diversity in this place, in the sense like there's a lot of great ideas and what we can do. So the moment we strike the first thing that we can probably market, I think it'll make news, right? I mean, it'll help everyone in the company. So it would create further revenue streams.
I think they pretty much covered most of the point. I just want to add a couple of different perspective onto that. So the way we look at it, this AI tools and from the job perspective, imagine 20, 25 years ago when we didn't have even computer internet, that much people were not adapting. We had typewriters, we had jobs, there were professional typewriters doing that thing, but then we evolved, right? So, and then those people, even if there is no professional typewriter's job, but there are other jobs out there. So I'm just giving one example. Now, even within IT industry, last 25 years, if you see, there were roles like developers, there were operational role, then we created DevOps role, so which evolved, right? So similarly, we don't know how the AI roles are going to evolve. Maybe there will be a new role coming up. But the way we look at it, when we go to our customers, we say just look at it in a different perspective, right? So if you are in a tight budget and you are able to accelerate your development and go to market by X number of days because you're using certain tools, you can use that budget and money to do something more. So, it's not that you have to cut your people or do something else. You can use that same set of people and, maybe you plan to do 3 things for this year. Maybe because of this AI acceleration now, you are able to deliver in the market faster. So you could do, 3 plus another two things, 5 things together. So you're basically accelerating your delivery model, and you are basically pretty much bringing more value to the business. We call it like, we take care of the undifferentiated work, which is the heavy lifting work. And earlier we were doing compute services and all those storage and all those stuff. Now it's like one more layer above. So now we are basically saying, like, if you have a big business process that you are kind of writing and you have to have, handcrafted all the codes, now let LLM do that part, right? So let's have like autonomous system do their own job, and maybe you do 5 of those in a given time, where you were initially planning to the whole year, maybe just 1 of those. So it's basically the acceleration that gives you, and it just brings new value for the business. At the same time, developers can churn in more code. Like today, let's say you are just writing 100 lines of code. Maybe with the help of AI tools, you are going to be writing 500 lines of code a day, but it's still your code. So which is, you are adding more value to the business, you are delivering more stuff, which is kind of like a cycle again, right? So you deliver more stuff, we get more business, company get more business, they get more revenue, so they get more developers, they get more products done. So it's like a cycle.
Yeah, can I add something to what he just said on the differentiated and undifferentiated side? That's exactly what we do as well. The differentiated part is like what differentiates the product that we're building from the market. That's what we want to invest more of our time in. The undifferentiated stuff is like, this is something that you can buy from somewhere. You can kind of use it, but overall, that's the model that pretty much most of us are going through these days.
Sounds good. Okay, we are 1 minute over time. I release you all into the wild. Thank you so much for your presence and being focused. And happy SLOSS.tech. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
Thanks, y'all.
Do you want to take any questions?
Yeah, any question? I'm here for...
Yep.
Oh, okay. Can we do questions? What? Well, we're doing questions. We've got your white shirt is next, right? You had your hand raised? Okay.
Yeah, my name is Surya. So basically my question is like, we're like 6 developers, like 6 graduates here. And you are saying that AI is going to recruit few members. Because before you used to like 100 lines of code per day. And the developers are writing 500 lines per day. So the recruitment will be less. So out of 4 of us, only 2 will be getting jobs. What about the remaining 3? So is it better to choose computer science or no?
I can answer this as I graduated with a computer science and math degree from Columbia in 2023. So the job search immediately after was brutal. And this was before AI. So just to keep it in perspective, like it is still like a hard job market because, typically like engineers get paid higher. So it's very competitive. A lot of really smart people go into computer science. But even with like AI, I would say like, if you were saying that 2 people would get hired, I would encourage the other 3 or 4 to create your own business because you have the capital and you have the possibility to do it. And the tools are there to do it as well. And I think that's what's actually really beautiful about this moment. But I would say like studying computer science and having the same, I guess, like idea about, going to San Francisco and being this big like software engineer, like the role is changing a lot to where a lot of the times like you're gonna get hired not because of how you know how to code, but because of the systems in your head and the engineering way of thinking. So then you basically, if you get hired and your boss tells you build this from scratch, and you're like, how do I do that? This thing that will help you is going to be like the systems behind it. How do you think about the product? What kind of backend are you going to use? And that's really the most important key part. So honestly, a lot of like, you don't have to study computer science to go in and work in the technical world. You can just like learn skills as you go. I do think that if you do like, go into computer science, it's just changing that expectation. And because the field is very, very sought after, it's just like creating your own things as well, projects, and trying to make yourself competitive, but then also show how you can bring your own specialties and frame of mind to an organization.
So basically, what she said plus, I want to add 2 more points on that. So imagine like you already know computer programming basics, you know programming, right? So it's not that like some AI tools are going to write code and you don't have to debug or you don't have to understand that. You still have to understand that. But with your that skill plus the new skill that is going to be required in the market is to write good English. That's going to be the new skill. So you have to ask the right question to the tool to get the right answers. So I think that's going to be the new skill set for everyone to learn. So now if you have that skill set, which is basically the prompting, that skill set plus your computer science skill set, that combination is what's going to give you that edge. So it's not going to be replacing one versus another. So it's going to be like complementing more for you.
Something that I would really like to say is that in terms of like only 2 out of the 4 of your group being employed or like being able to find work post-graduation, you were in good company. A lot of recent grads are in the same spot. It's not in your head. It's not just a you experience. It's not because you didn't do the right things. I'm positive that you checked all the boxes you were supposed to check. The resume, the projects, the classes you're supposed to take, graduating on time, all the things, right? But it's a really hard job market. And something that's happening right now that I want to make sure you walk away with an understanding of is that each company, startups, large corporations, existing small businesses, are very seriously looking at even just like the publicly accessible LLMs like Claude, like Chat, and they're able to be more productive with them. And it is causing them to pause on things like hiring and ask the question, do we need to? And if we do, does it need to be junior? Does it need to be senior? Those things are happening literally all throughout the economy. And so I just want to like validate your experience and say right now, what's happening, it's not just you. And this is hard. It's hard to navigate. And you can do everything right and still like find yourself unemployed, but it's not because there's something wrong with you.
It's also not just computer science. It's a lot of different roles. Like if you think about like even design, like you can just go into V0 or Bolt and tell like, give me the design that looks like this with this color scheme, with this hex color, and it'll do it for you in like 15 seconds. So then if you're strapped for money, you're like, do I need a designer or can I just bring my ideas to life, right? But it really just depends. So it's not just computer science. A lot of different fields are feeling this with this reduction in workforce. So again, it's not just you.
Something that was recent in the most recent World Economic Future of Jobs report was a lot of soft skills. And that can be like frustrating to read because you're like, what? I can't go get a certification and eye contact. But what you can do is get really strong with English language skills, with your communication skills, context, speaking with LLMs. Like these are very important skills. And actually right now, what I'm seeing a lot of people have success in is when they're able to apply those like smart social skills in how they're going about jobs. So instead of just blindly applying through a job portal, you're reaching out for an information session. You're going aggressive on the journey, not aggressive in the approach, on finding people who are willing to talk to you in your target companies and that are doing your target roles. Get creative. Don't rely on conventional methods because conventional methods aren't working right now for this hyper-competitive job market. White shirt.
White shirt. White hoodie.
My bad.
But you guys covered what I was going to ask with skills, prompting, and whatnot. So I'll just ask a rhetorical question for the whole room. How are we going to have senior engineers if we're not hiring juniors?
I just assume we'll all be swallowed up by the great collective artificial intelligence at that point. I think that's something that a lot of organizations are really wrestling with. And I'd be really curious, especially from the panel who are in large corporations, how are your companies thinking about senior versus junior talent?
let me try this. I mean, we just formed this new group. You know, we're in this early phases, but we didn't go bring in seniors from outside. Like I said, you know, we try to use our folks because, like she mentioned, I mean, you know your basics, you know your game, you know what you're being asked to deliver, you know the responsibility, and you know what all you need to keep in mind. So everything from security, everything from governance, everything from rights, ethics, compliance, all these things are someone that a senior engineer would already know that he should be taking or she should be taking care of. That's the difference between a junior and a senior. Someone asked this question, it's like, how would I get myself into this state? Well, you have to walk the walk. You know, you have to do the drill. There's always these seismic changes that happen. There was AWS that literally came in and took EC2 computing, and then next thing we know, it's like all those folks with experience managing hard drives and, you know, storages are trying to find jobs. But guess what? Those who reskill themselves and upskill themselves into managing cloud computing ended up becoming much better, you know, resources in that space. So senior engineers are there necessarily only to guide and mentor, but at this point, there is a new trend evolving in the sense of don't be this flatline developer. I think she said that just now. Everyone's looking for a specialty these days. There is a specialty that's needed. You just can't be a basic programmer who knows how to get things done and write a unit test and get something across the finish line. That's over. Those days are over because something else has totally replaced that job functionality overnight. Copilot, ChatGPT, you know, enterprise level versions, you just buy it for $100 and you can actually get it to do what you wanted it to do. But what it cannot do is try to understand what you're after. It's like every textbook has the same chapters for every student, but why are some of them better than others? That's just, again, a rhetorical answer to that. It's just that senior engineers are there to make sure that we follow the NFRs, the guidelines, protect the company, and then go through it. Juniors will try to understand, it's like, my job wasn't just go from A to B. I also have to go do the several other things in order to get the product to the finish line. So I think it'll evolve, continue to build specialty in your areas. For those who are looking for employment, programming is a bit of a fading art. However, the analytics part of it is still new. The data science part is new. Understanding data structures is new. Semantic enrichment is new. That's what he was talking about, a conversational piece. Like someone like you who could kind of go intern in a few places will figure out like probably a new algorithm or a new source of employment. So I think it's evolving. It's fairly new still to basically say, yeah, which way is it going entirely, but the ones who are trying to learn and stick with it and basically do all the pieces of the puzzle, I think they'll be all right. I think so.
Can I add, like, I'm just going to be adding in a completely different perspective. I want to pretend myself an LLM. Let's say like you ask this question to an LLM. What would be LLM's answer to this question? So imagine like, LLM is, the models are evolving as we speak, like every 2 to 3 months there is a new model out there. As they are learning, so imagine like they are junior developers now. So that's why you need senior developers to actually work on those people because those are now playing a role of junior developers. But as they mature, it could be at some point, there could be a situation, they become senior developer. And you need junior developers to work with them as a peer programmer. Like literally that. So it could flip completely. We don't know that. I'm just predicting. As an LLM, I'm just saying like it could happen. Maybe they can become even principal developers. Maybe they can build the whole project, entire project in a day. And all you need is a person who knows programming and out of college, just know the English and know programming to be able to just manage that. It could just be that way. We don't know the future, but I'm just predicting it right now. And the way the market is going, the whole, the evolution of last 2.5 years, as we saw from the I think, late 2022, early 2023, the whole thing that changed. And specifically this year, after the agentic evolution, it's changing very fast. Every 1 month, every few days, there's a new thing coming up on the market. And it's again redefining everything else that was happening before. So, so with agents, multi-agents, things becoming autonomous, things that were done manually before is not anymore. So, we don't know, basically. There are so many different opportunities. There could be new roles coming up. There could be, completely different things. But all I know is that there will be jobs. one way or the other, something.
Are we done for real? All right, Ed said yes. We're done.